Hi, I'm Nicole, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to turn these fake welt pockets into real ones. Let's go. Now, first things first, we need to take a few measurements so that we know what size of pocket bag we need to cut out. We need the fabric that's going to be the pocket bag to be the same width as the bit of fabric that is currently covering the pocket. So I have that as 6 inches across. And then for the length, we want to make it as deep as we want. Generally, I like to just put a mobile phone so I can make sure that a phone actually fits in. I'm going to measure from the top of the rectangular piece that is currently covering the pocket opening. I'm going to measure from the top of that down to where I want the pocket bag to end. So let's say we finish it at 8 inches. So now we know this measurement from the top of this rectangular piece to the bottom of the pocket bag is 8 inches. I am just going to make a little mark here with my tailor's chalk, which is going to be the bottom of the pocket bag. Now you could cut two separate pocket bags, have one which is the 6 inches by 8 inches, although if you're having two separate pocket bags, you will need to add on a seam allowance. So if you're doing two separate pocket bags, you'll want to have 6 inches on this example by say 8.5 inches. In that case, I would make a mark down here. But I'm actually going to be cutting a pocket bag that is going to be on the fold. So one piece of fabric rather than two separate pieces. So the next measurement I want to take, for that, I need to lift this flap up so that I can see the raw edge of the seam allowance here on the pocket opening. The second pocket bag is going to be the measurement taken from the top of this cut edge of the pocket opening down to where I made that mark at the bottom of the pocket bag. In my case, this is 7 inches. If I was cutting two separate pieces, I would cut the second piece at 7.5 inches by the 6-inch width. But because I'm cutting mine on the fold, my pocket bag piece is going to be 6 inches by 8 plus 7, which is 15 inches in total. If you were cutting two separate pocket bags, you cut one that was 6 by 8.5 and another one that was 6 by 7.5. Now I need to get some fabric to use for the pocket bags, and I happen to have this Liberty cotton lawn, just a little remnant of it in my stash. It is a bit of a jazzy lining, but I haven't got another fabric that is this exact khaki green color, and it does pick up the little tones in there, so there is a little bit of that green, and so it will be a bit of a jazzy pocket bag, but you won't really see it unless you actually opened the pocket out. So now I want to cut two pieces, so one for each pocket bag, which in my case is 6 inches by 15 inches long. To cut out the pocket bags, I'm just going to use my quilting ruler and my rotary cutter. But because I measured in inches, I now have to convert that to centimeters. So we had 6 inches across, which is about 15.25 centimeters. And then our finished length of 15 is about 38 centimeters, just over 38 centimeters. So let's go ahead and cut two pieces that are roughly 15.5 or 15.25 centimeters across. I've just got two pieces of fabric here, one on top of the other, so this will be cutting two pocket bags in total. So we've got our 6-inch width cut, and now let us cut a length which is just over 38 centimeters long. This quilting ruler only goes up to 30, so let's just cut 30. It doesn't have to be exact. If the pocket bag's a little bit longer than I measured, it's fine, as long as it's not too short. And then we're going to go 8 centimeters from the bottom of that. Now we have our two pocket bags cut out. The next thing we need to do here is a little bit of deconstruction. What we're going to do effectively is unpick the stitching around this rectangle. We're going to unpick from this corner down across and here. So we're going to leave the top stitching of this intact. I'm actually going to undo all of this overlocking because it seems like the flap of the welt pocket opening is actually attached to the outside rectangle with this overlocking. So let's just get all that separated. We've got that little bit of stitching unpicked now, so if I lift that rectangle up, what you'll see is that the opening is now accessible. The next step here is we want to attach the pocket bags to this flap, and then on the other side we want to attach it to this rectangle. So we're going to go right sides together. Because this is all overlocked on the inside, I don't think we're going to get too fancy with French seams and all that. We'll just overlock everything. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. We want the pocket bag to be with the jazzy side, as it were, jazzy side facing the inside. So it will end up, when it's finished, being like that. So we want to go right sides together. So to do that, on the pocket opening, the flap, we need to put the pocket bag like this so that it is facing right sides together with the opening here. So if I just pin that, so we're going to be stitching along here, but on the machine we're going to be turning it this way, and we're going to be stitching along the pre-existing line of stitching here. So let's just pin that into position. I've got those two things pinned together, so let's take that to the machine now, and we're going to stitch them together along this line of stitching. So just following the existing line of stitching that there is there. Pocket bag is now stitched on here, so let's just go ahead and overlock that edge. With the edge there overlocked, we can now do some edge stitching. We're just going to turn the pocket bag this way, and we are just going to stitch close to that edge. We're just going to stitch the pocket bag just to the seam allowance. So on the machine, we're just going to go stitch it down like that. So we are stitching very close to the edge of the seam, and the purpose of this is to keep the pocket bag facing this way so that it has less chance of also escaping through the pocket opening. This is what we're looking like so far. We have got the pocket bag attached to the welt flap there. Now what we need to do is close the pocket bag. So we need to now attach the other end of the pocket bag to the bottom of the rectangular flap that was initially covering the pocket opening. And again, we're going to do that right sides together. So we're just going to get the pocket bag with right sides together. And we could, if we wanted to, follow that seam line of stitching, but it really doesn't matter. We can just use a normal 1 centimeter seam allowance or whatever. Let's go ahead and pin that. And now we're going to take this to the machine, and then we're just going to sew those two layers together. And now let's go ahead and overlock that raw edge. Go ahead and edge stitch that as well if you like. It's a little bit trickier to get into. We have to just turn it around this way. So kind of getting into the pocket bag. Obviously, if there were two separate pocket bag pieces, then it wouldn't be a problem. You just move one out of the way. But because we have this as one full pocket bag on the fold, we just have to go in through this way, and then we can do our edge stitch here on the pocket bag. And this is what we're looking like now. We have got the pocket bag now attached to both sides of the pocket opening. All that's left to do for us now is close up the sides of the pocket bags. So we need to do that by stitching the two sides down back together. But we need to do it from this side because we need to make sure that we're catching this little triangle piece here. So we want to be able to turn it this way. And so from the back side, we are going to sew, making sure that the welt pocket opening is matched up all the way at the top of the triangle. And then we're going to stitch one line all the way down. And then we will do the same on the other side of the pocket bag. But on the machine, we will probably come at this one from the bottom up, but it's basically the same line of stitching. And again, just crossing over to the inside of that triangular piece as well. And I'll just show you what it looks like sewing up the other side. So I want to make sure that I'm just going along that fold line or that crease line where the original stitching along that triangle was. Now that the sides are all stitched up, all that's left to do here is overlock these edges, and then we are done. You just want to be really careful when you're overlocking that you're not going to accidentally cut or catch a bit of fabric underneath that shouldn't be caught. So just double check before you stitch up. And now let's do the other side. And there we go. Pockets are all done. That's what we are looking like from the inside of the trouser. And now let me show you what they look like from the outside. From the outside, they look pretty much the same as they did before, except now we've got pockets. Magic. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and head over to my Instagram to see the full transformation of these trousers. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.